and I throw the ball. I mean,
if you don't want to do it right.
I was a college baseball pitcher, so I threw this ball pretty hard and split his head open because he couldn't catch it. Now, I'm lucky I'm still married. I've been married for 43 years, but it come very close to not being married after that.
We aren't just a video production company. We are business solution driven creatives. And this is More Than Meets the Eye.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the More Than Meets the Eye podcast, where we talk about what's behind a person, a practice, or a product, especially when it comes to marketing. I'm Jared Taylor. I've got my coffee, and I want to welcome you to JT Visuals. That's without the I, because there's more than meets the eye. Today is very special because we have Brian Mills with 252 Leadership. Is that 252 or 252?
Well, I always say 252.
Okay.
Actually, it comes from Luke.
I was
252.
wondering. Okay.
That was always, my whole life growing up, that was one of my favorite Bible verses. Jesus increased in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and man. And a lot of people don't understand what stature is. But if you read the definition, stature is influence. John Maxwell says leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And so Jesus, because of how he grew in influence.
Yes.
Influence with God, with his Father, but also influence with his fellow men. And so that's what's behind Luke 252.
Hey, sorry to interrupt, but Joe, you got something on your chest.
When I failed my first 8 business, I chalked it up to a couple of things. Number one, I was very proud and I didn't learn how to build a business. But the second thing I realized is I didn't go to school for this.
And it's fun to try to figure things out and explore. But then there comes a point where you're like, wait, hold on. What are all the other successful business owners doing?
We've provided something for you if you feel the same exact way. We've provided Skool, Skool, entrepreneur experience, where you can actually have free content and a community of people that are also in there that are entrepreneurs that love to give feedback and ask for feedback. If you don't feel like you have the resources enough to help you become successful, join our Skool.
It starts for free. So what are you waiting for? Go to jtvisuals.com/Skool. That's JTVisuals without the I, and that's Skool with a K.
Now back to the show.
So Brian, you're also a keynote speaker and you're an executive coach, a business consultant. Bird's eye view, how would you describe, what else would you say, who you are and what you do?
Well, my whole goal is to bring value to people that want to bring value to others. God blesses us to be a blessing.
Yeah.
We're given talents, not necessarily for us to succeed, but to use those talents to help others succeed.
Yeah.
And always been my desire, the way I've always measured success on my end, whether I was running large Fortune 500 organizations or big sales teams or organizations, were how many people that I would be working with or would be considered part of my team or that sort of thing, how successful could they be?
Oh, that's good.
Have them make more money than I make, have them be able to accomplish more than what I can accomplish. I'm a great dream builder, and a lot of people have dreams and goals, but goals, without a process, goals without a roadmap, or sometimes a coach. Some people a lot of times will say, because a lot of times I'm so out front and I speak, hey, maybe I'm more like Apostle Paul, but I've always felt like I had a Barnabas ministry. My ministry is to encourage people and to make people better. That's always my goal. A lot of times I'm not the best at a lot of things, but I have the ability to help other people
That's awesome.
be better.
Yeah. What a better way to raise up others, and that comes from a place of influence, really.
Yeah.
Before we get too much into the business side of thing, I'm just curious, what's a normal day like for you?
Well, it's I really haven't had a normal day for about the last 2 years.
So now is that normal to not have a normal day?
No, it's my normal day used to be, I was on the go and 10, 12, 14 hours, and I've went through some major if you want to say, health challenges or things like that in the last year or two. And so my normal days have changed between a lot of physical therapy, a lot of maybe not having the energy to do things. And I've had to learn to rely on a lot of other people. And I was never one that way. I'm always the giver. I'm always the one to help. And it's been a new season, learning how to receive.
Okay, yes.
Learning how to ask for help.
It's humbling, isn't it?
And, but it's very successful. As I've come to learn, the most successful people, they cast their visions out there. They share the reality of what they're going through, and they're not afraid to ask for help, because that's where success comes from, is by surrounding yourself with people that can help accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. We can't do it on our own.
And what would stop you before when it came to asking for help?
A lot of it is just that pride. We go through that, if you want to say, imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah. Which is code for insecurity.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
I don't want people to know, maybe I'm in bigger financial debt than when I am, or maybe I can't really afford that, or I really don't know how to do that, or struggle with that.
Yeah.
And so instead of being real, and maybe by being real, now I'm able to access or connect, or somebody, maybe you, all of a sudden I'm real with you about, here's a vision I have, but I don't have the money to do it, or I don't have this resource or that resource. And you're like, man, you get excited about my vision, and Charlie over here. And the next thing I know, Charlie's helping me fund my vision or giving me ideas on what I can do and things like that. Even the kingdom of God is built on people.
Oh, yeah.
His church is people. And, the gates of hell can't prevail against the church. And that's people of like faith, people that are working together, not for themselves.
Yeah.
And so that's probably been a big lesson I've learned. I always saw myself as the one bringing value. And now I'm realizing there's a lot of value that other people, just like this today, I appreciate, you're bringing value to me today.
Oh, same
and
back,
the fact
man.
that I was able to meet you and saw what you did. And so, that interests me. I mean, it's just, what your passion was, why you've made the investment and put together this tremendous program you have here. What was your motive? What was your goals? What are your desires?
Speaking of vision, I love being able to help brands rediscover their vision, because sometimes they forget about it, or they're like, we're supposed to have it, so let's come up with something. And maybe these days, they'd probably just chat GPT it, because my coach or someone said I'm supposed to have a vision statement, and it's kind of just a checklist, but it's not a true vision. So I like reestablishing that, because I believe that everybody's in business for a reason.
Yeah.
And that usually that reason is to help people when there's a problem. And so I like pulling that out, revamping on their vision, and then putting them on some sort of medium, using the talents and skills that we have to combine heart and skill with actually valuable content online. So when someone runs into a video, it's not just another dance. Sometimes it's fine for some engagement here and there and all that or whatever. But there's so much slop on the scroll.
Right.
And so this is a way to be able to use that tool to reach people. And what if we have 100 podcast shows that all bring value to people, and not so much the slop that we see all the time, and it's not just vain talk. Right. It's there's truly, if you listen, you're going to grow in person, you're going to grow in heart, you're going to grow in skill, and then the social media is the tool to get them to the longer version. And so that's what really motivates me, and of course my faith too. And there's a vision.
Well, that intentionality, that's another thing I've learned. And it's actually probably my biggest goal for 2026 is to be intentional and genuine, even in relationships.
Yeah.
We've got a society where we've lost intentionality. Just like you said, people are just throwing things out there. And we've lost that intentionality that what are we trying to do? What's our purpose? What's our, how are we trying to connect? What do we want to accomplish? And we've lost that. And there's so many, if you want to say vision destroyers out there or killers.
Okay.
And so it's great to see somebody like you to be that vision builder or that vision restorer. And that's one of the things I try to do. Even with 252 leadership and my coaching and when I work with somebody is, help them take that vision and help them make it a reality. And sometimes they have everything within them to do it. I mean, there's really there's really nothing new for you and me to learn. There's really not a whole lot that's not there. But sometimes we just need somebody to hold our hand, so to speak, and tell us we can do it and help us process what's inside of us. Yeah. Hey, I got your back. I'll fight those vision killers out there for you.
That's awesome. I love that imagery. Yeah. Let's go fight those vision killers, that's what you're in for. And if you can't muster up the courage to fight those vision killers, maybe your vision isn't big enough.
Right.
So for me, when I first started my business, it was actually because I couldn't get the job I wanted and I wanted to stay in a certain industry and I had a certain skill. Now, you probably read the E-Myth.
Yes.
So I've read the cover. No, I know the whole concept of the book or whatever, and it even just the concept has moved me. I haven't actually went all the way through it, but in the E-Myth, it reminds me of how I started, which in a lot of ways is fine, but then God gave me this bigger vision, and it's like, why do I exist? Why does JT Visuals exist in the marketplace? Because I can say, because I wanted to film people.
Right.
And I want to use my passion. That has nothing to do with anybody else. That's all me-centered.
Right.
Which is good to have that, but there needs to be something more. And so God gave me, I started praying for it. And guess what? He gave me wisdom.
Yeah. And that's your legacy. I heard somebody share here, a month or two ago, and it really hit me hard. And they said, a legacy is not what you leave behind. It's what you're building right now. It's what you're investing in building right now. And so in what you're doing, you're building a legacy. And in anything you're doing, whatever your purpose, the whole purpose is to build a legacy. I mean, God told us to be fruitful and multiply. I mean, it just doesn't mean to go out and have a bunch of babies. I mean, to be fruitful and multiply means to build a legacy. I mean, Jesus told the disciples, go out and make what?
Yeah. Make disciples.
More disciples.
Yeah.
If we look at that with whatever business we're doing, whatever industry we're in, if we focus on how am I building a legacy? How am I helping more people achieve their goals, achieve their purpose, achieve their vision? And that's what it's all about. And that's what you're doing is you're building a legacy right now. And every business you work with, if it helps them break out of where they're at and be able to succeed and touch more lives and bring more value, I mean, you're all behind that. And so, I mean, that's exciting.
I've really seen the verse, it's more blessed to give than receive, to be true.
Yep.
I'm always like benefiting from others in my personal life. And I always said you can't be too humble to accept things that you need.
Humble. So many people have the wrong idea of what humble means, especially biblically what it means. And if you go back to, the original Hebrew and even into Greek, when, Jesus was talking about being humble and Paul being humble, what that actually translates, a better translation is teachable. And the day that you feel like that you know everything, that's when you're going to fall. And that's why, pride, lack of humility comes before a fall. Because once you get to a point where I don't need to learn more, I don't need more help, I don't need to hear this again, I don't need this encouragement.
Equals pride.
Yeah, and that's what humility is not, I don't think well of myself. I mean, we should think well. I mean, we have the righteousness of Christ. I'm a joint heir with Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I mean, God is my Father. I mean, if I'm the son of a king, But it doesn't mean I'm lording myself over people, but
Right.
it means I have confidence
Yeah.
that I can do all things because of my position
Yeah.
in the kingdom. But I'm humble because I'm eager to learn. I want to do better. I want to get better. And I value other people. When you start valuing other people more than you value yourself, that's true humility. It's not saying that I'm bad, but I value other people. I mean, just like a great athlete, you take somebody like Patrick Mahomes, I'm sure, or Bobby Wood Jr., they don't think less of themselves. They know their talents.
Right.
But they also understand they value that offensive line, or they value that wide receiver, or they value those other team members, and they invest and value them.
Yeah.
And that's what humility is, and that's truly what leadership is.
Yeah, that's so good, man. Thanks for sharing that. I hope that actually resonated with someone in the audience, and I know it resonates with me. If I feel like I'm going into a room where I'm in a teaching position, I'm not going in there to, like you said, lord over people and teach. I'm going there to provide a piece of value that I learned. And one of our core values for JT Visuals is actually be a learner and a teacher.
Right.
And I used to go around with my pastor, and we came up with a saying. We're like, we got to be a learn-it-all, not a know-it-all.
Right.
But then we graduated, and we're like, wait, hold on. We can't just learn it and hold the stuff in. We got to be able to teach it. So be a teach-it-all. And so that actually carried over into core values of how we want to do things here is we want to always be teachable, and then also teach and keep the cycle going. But anyways, so in your business, I'm curious. So 252, based on, did you say Luke?
Luke 252.
Luke 252. Yeah. Awesome. That's a good name then. I like it. What originally pulled you toward starting 252?
Well, I've always been in, if you want to say, in leadership roles and trying to build teams and organizations. And like I say, I've always had a passion to help other people. And I've always been a large John Maxwell fan. I mean, for, 30 some years. And I mean, and a lot of other leaders and gurus and authors out there. But for years, I would use a lot of the leadership material from all these different people, whether it's John Maxwell or Brian Tracy or Ken Blanchard or John Gordon or, these different people. And I would use that and kind of put that stuff together to help grow my organizations, to help people, grow and be better.
Organizations you started or wherever you were?
A lot of them were organizations I started. Others were organizations that I built within companies. I've had large companies where I came in and they literally wanted to build a whole new division from scratch that they had no expertise in. So as one company was basically in the property and casualty industry, and they wanted to build an employee benefits division, and I was able to build that from scratch, from zero revenue dollars up to almost $40 million worth of revenue dollars.
Wow.
And a team of, 150 people and things like that. And other organizations, again, where I've been able to use the platform of an organization and their reputation, their integrity, their skill sets, their finances, those resources then to build organizations within that organization. And then I've also built businesses on my own or organizations in that way. I've been actively involved over the years in political groups and helping to build some of those, working with churches and nonprofit organizations to help grow and build. And we get confused sometimes because, and somebody needs to hear this, we think the organization is what grows. It's not the organization, it's the people. Yeah. People are the organization. People are the church. People are the civic group.
Yeah.
And so the focus is being able to connect with those individuals and help those individuals grow and achieve their dreams. And when that happens, the organization grows. And the organization is dynamic. I mean, what happens is so many times you take the big word or whatever phrase right now, and you probably hear it all the time. Maybe you had podcasters talk about it, scalable. It's all about scalable.
And so buzzword.
People take their business, okay, I'm going to scale it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they've made this small business and it's grown. And in their mind, they're still doing everything the same way because it's just the same business, it's bigger. No, it's not. It's different. It's like being a parent and you have one kid and now you have 4 kids.
Yeah.
Okay, you're a parent, but you're parenting 4 totally different individuals.
Yep.
And so
they're totally different, and you got to implement systems differently.
Correct.
We have 3 kids, and we have a mother-in-law.
So you're in zone defense, right? Yeah.
Well, now we actually do. That's funny. Zone defense. It's not. Yeah, it's not man-made. Well, one's a 1-year-old, but he does go everywhere.
Yeah.
And then we up to a 9-year-old, so that range. Anyways, so now we do weekly huddles, though. Like
Yeah.
we came to a point where we actually have to have weekly meetings in our family.
Yeah. John Gordon does that.
Yeah.
And even as the kids are still grown, they still have weekly huddles.
I feel like it would
and
be
that's
more
what's
important.
been very successful in raising his kids and doing that, having weekly huddles. Greg Rochelle does that.
Oh, dude,
I mean,
love Craig
a lot of those, some of your great leaders, they teach you can't build systems outside the home and not build systems in the home. If you're not building systems in the home, I mean, even Jesus told us we got to take care of our own home first before we're able to go out and take care of others. Even when you fly on the airplane, they tell you, put the oxygen mask on yourself first before your kids. And so many times as leaders, the reason why we're imposters out in the business world or we're not as successful in the business world is because we're not practicing these things at home.
Do you see that most of the time?
I see that a lot of times. I see that with myself and the reality of my life going up. That's like one of the books that I've been working on, and it's called Sometimes You Just Have to Play Catch. It's the art of connection.
Okay.
And I'm a very high type DI person.
On the DISC assessment.
When you go to the DISC assessment, it's like and like with John Maxwell, they have a very detailed DISC assessment and analysis, and it breaks it down. And where I'm at is like 2% of the population, and it says like some of the famous people in history is like Napoleon, Ben Franklin, Paul the Apostle, things like that. But I've never been about the journey. I'm about getting from point A to point B.
Okay.
And it's like, I didn't worry about the people I was killing or stepping on or so to speak along the way. And it wasn't about connections. It was about getting to where I needed to do. And so I was that way. And I was raised that way. My dad, I played sports. I played baseball. I thought I was going to be a professional ball player.
Dude, me too.
And my dad taught me you practice like it's the real thing. You don't do anything. When we're playing catch, we're doing, and I mean, he was always doing that. Well, I was trying to raise my son the same way. And my son is not a DI person. My son has a big heart, and my son is more of the journey. He doesn't really care about. He's been on the same job for years, and he could make a lot more money moving up the ladder within his company than they want him to.
Yeah,
but that's not what's going to make him happy. Because what he's doing, and it's more about that connection and what he gets to do with his family and things like that. And, my son, I'm trying to play catch into me, and then he's just kind of being silly and doing some stuff. And I lose my temper, and I throw the ball. I mean,
if you don't want to do it right.
I was a college baseball pitcher, so I threw this ball pretty hard and split his head open because he couldn't catch it. Now, I'm lucky. I'm still married. I've been married for 43 years, but it come very close to not being married after that when you hit mama's baby.
Well, how old was he, too?
He was 12.
Okay.
The thing is, all he wanted to play, he just wanted to play catch with his dad. He wanted to connect. He wanted time with dad.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to play catch. Sometimes you just got to shoot the baskets. It's not about – and it's that way with your employees sometimes or the people you deal with. Sometimes you just got to play catch with them. And that looks different for different people.
Yeah.
For some people, it's just having coffee with them. For some people, it's maybe going to the driving range or maybe going to a sporting event, or sometimes maybe it's just, hey, let's both read the same book and talk about it,
Yeah.
But to figure out what they need, because one of the things John Gordon says that's really profound, you cannot correct until you've connected.
Ooh, that's good.
And that works with your kids too. You can't really genuinely correct them or them have the respect for you when you try to correct them if you've not really connected with them. And even our spouses. I mean, it's, I've struggled with that even through my marriage because, I mean, I love my wife.
That's
and
the
I
journey,
do stuff.
right?
But to me, it's all about doing stuff for her or taking her places or doing this and doing that and not spending enough energy in connecting. And so that's kind of through a lot I've been through, and when you almost die and you lose, full use of your lower body, and you're having to learn how to walk again, how to do bodily functions again.
This is actually your story, isn't it?
You have to do all those things. It makes you start to realize the importance of every little thing. I mean, I know it's probably not something you say on a podcast or whatever, but I mean, I was on a catheter for 5 months. I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to use the bathroom on my own again. And then when that happened, and even to this day now, I'm learning to be thankful for everything.
Oh, wow.
I'm in there at the urinal, and it's like, man, thank you, Jesus. I mean, I'm getting excited. My wife joked. She said I was her 6-foot toddler, because I'm getting excited. I'm running in. Man, you would imagine what this or that. And, I was able to do this little thing and walk, or this little thing, because it was literally your nerves are having to regenerate. And I mean, your mind's having to tell you, your legs just don't automatically do it on their own. And it's made me realize even the value of people that so many times, instead of like right now looking at you, so many times I'd be looking through you. What we need to accomplish, what that sort of thing, versus really looking at you and trying to make that connection. People give you connection doesn't mean we got to be buddies and we go out and do everything together and we got to agree on everything and like we're high-fiving and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's that that I genuinely care about you and that I'm there for you. And the barriers are broken because now you can come to me if you're my employee, or if you're my child, even if you're my spouse, and say, you know what, I messed up. I need help here. And you're not going to feel condemned. You're not going to feel judged. But you're going to feel like you've got somebody that's going to say, hey, let's figure out what we need to do to fix this, or how can I, what we need to do to help you get better at this, or to do this. And that's what true connections is all about.
And that's big character development too. And when you help guide someone through that, shows love. Hey, you're talking about connection and playing catch and all that, and it reminded me of a quote I heard someone say, and that's like, kids spell love. T-I-M-E.
And that's a great story. And it's one of the things I put in my book. We had my granddaughter and grandson lived with us for about 4 or 5 years. My granddaughter, one time, I would always tease them because they always wanted Papa's phone. Because I have all these games on them and stuff like that. And one time, I think she was 5. And I handed her, she wanted Papa's phone. And I said, Alina, do you love Papa because of his phone? Is that why you love Papa? And he said, no. She goes, no. I said, well, why do you love Papa? And she goes, because you play with us and you make us feel safe. I wish I'd have been more that way with my kids. That's why God created grandkids.
Yeah.
Is it lets us have a second chance, to do things the right way. Because we can't go back and redo that. But hopefully our kids can see us, how we react, how we relate to our grandkids.
Yeah.
And, my goal is that they don't feel resentment because where was this guy when I was growing up? But they see the same joy that, man.
What would be a message that you would share to someone who is in the same shoes as you, as a parent, and they're working?
Be intentional. I mean, that's my word for this year. And one of the ways to be intentional, the first thing that should go on your calendar is intentional time that you're going to spend with your kids. I mean, if maybe your goal is I'm going to read my kids a 5-minute bedtime story every night before they go to bed. But you know what? If it's not on your calendar and your little phone doesn't go off 10 minutes ahead of time telling you, hey, it's bedtime story for, Annalise or whatever, then it really isn't intentional to you. But I guarantee you that customer that you're going to see at 1 o'clock or that meeting you need to go to, you've got that on your calendar and you've got reminders. And, that's what being intentional is. I mean, that's kind of why God told us, with our finances to be intentional, the first fruits, that 10%, not wait till, now it's time to go to church or I got to give an offering. What do I have left? It's to be intentional because that's the most important thing to me. And so I'm going to be intentional and put that first. And then everything else is going to be taken care of. And that is probably the biggest thing. And I'm starting to do that with my calendar. I'm blocking out things I got, I'm going to with my wife or this or that. Little things that I never would put on the calendar, but I do now. And that's one of the things is I'm focusing more on little things. We're always talking about, and I'm not saying we don't have big visions and big dreams, but you know what? It's the little things within those
that you don't want to miss.
Visions and dreams that actually make the dreams happen. And it's just like little things. It's just like yesterday, I found a penny on the sidewalk. Now, I couldn't bend down and pick it up, but my wife did and picked it up and gave it to me. But it's like, hey, God, thank you for this penny. I mean, before it was like no big deal, but to be thankful and even every little time, being that high D, Jared, this was the problem I had. And I still have this problem a little bit, like trying to finish my book or trying to do things. Is I'm the type of person, if I can't block out enough time to get from A to B, start to finish, then I don't do it. And so many times.
What if you don't know?
Yeah, that's
what A and B time it takes.
Right, you don't know sometimes, but you're just thinking that. But so many times I maybe not did things with my kids or do something because it's like, oh gosh, I can't block out 30 minutes or I can't block out an hour. I can't block out a whole afternoon.
Yeah.
But you know what? I could block out 10 minutes. And if you make the most out of that 10 minutes, it's being intentional. If you're intentional with that 10 minutes, that's going to accomplish more than being sloppy with an hour. Much like you were talking about with your video stuff. You could have a 2-minute video with a ton of intentionality and accomplish more than some 10-minute sloppy thing. And sometimes we feel like it's about how much time, and it's not about how much time. It's what we do with that time to be intentional. Like 5 minutes, just taking 5 minutes with your child and hugging them and
full attention.
And just full attention, and just talking to them. And if that phone does ring or whatever, or even take it out of your pocket and let them see you put it on the other thing and turn it off. And for this 15 minutes, I'm all yours. I'm all yours, Jared. Too many times they've seen you in the middle of something and the phone rings and you've just told them that person was more important. And we convinced ourselves of that. I said, well, that's how I'm able to pay for all these things and send you to this, do this, and do all this because that's my livelihood is more important than you. But in reality, again, we go back, be fruitful and multiply. I exist on this earth for that wife because God talks about the covenant of marriage. I exist on this earth for those kids. That's just a tool that God allows me to use. My business, my job is just a tool. And there's a lot of different tools. But so many times the tool becomes more important than the people. And we see that in business. The tool or the processes or this or that becomes more important than the people. And the people are the ones that make the processes actually work.
You reminded me of big rocks because you've heard that analogy where if you want to fit all the rocks in, you got multiple different kinds of sizes of rocks and you want to fit it into a jar, you have to start with the big rocks so then the little rocks will fit in. But how I've seen the calendar and how I've been going about it because I've been getting actually pretty good along with my wife to be able to put things on the calendar even for personal. And we're like, if it's not on the calendar, it's not happening. And then even with friends, it's like, we have to put that on the calendar. But what I didn't think about was something you brought up where it's about the quality of the time. And so the big rocks is not what's going to take the longest on your calendar. The big rocks is what's the most important on your calendar.
That's the biggest impact. Yeah.
And so that's pretty life-changing there.
Yeah. I mean, I would not read a book. I mean, one of the reasons I love traveling so much is that was when I read.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'd get a book read on the airplane there and coming back or sitting on the beach, being things. That was because I'm one of these people, I want to read a book from cover to the end. And I've had to retrain myself, even like today, before I came to the podcast, reading a book by Valerie Burton that I wanted to read about resilience. It's a brand new book she has out about resilience. And there was one chapter that kind of stood out to me, and it's like, you know what? I just don't have time to read this whole book. But you know what? It took me 10, 15 minutes to read that one chapter. And I read that one chapter, and there were several things out of that now will be impactful in my life and impactful in being able to share with others even today and things like that. And so it's that intentionality of making the most. And it's I mean, you hear it, the sports analogies, it's like, you're not looking for the end zone, you're looking for the first down.
Okay. Yes,
and, and that sort of that, you're not looking for the home run, you're looking for the base hits.
Yep.
And because you put enough of those together, one, success builds success.
Yeah.
Faith builds faith. And you know what? If I can read for 10 minutes today, that means maybe tomorrow I can read, for 20 minutes. I mean, Greg Rochelle shares this story that helped him break through the mind barrier because he says our minds, our brains don't really comprehend what our bodies can actually do. And he shares a story where he was at a resort, at some kind of conference resort, and another gentleman was there that is very successful in building organizations and stuff like that. And they were just in the pool and like two, tough man guys doing. He goes, the other guy goes, I bet you can't hold your breath for a minute. And he's like, Craig, oh man, I can do that, And so he goes to do it. And he's sitting there saying, man, he about was to pass out and die. I mean, he was doing everything he could to make it to the minute. Yeah. He could hear the guy counting and he made it to the minute. And the guy said, great, high five, says, now do it for 2 minutes. And he's going, there's no way. There's no way I can do that. I almost died doing it for a minute. And the guy says, no, you can do this. And he kind of walked him through it. He said, first, take this really big, deep breath, do this 2 or 3 times, kind of stretch your lungs out. And then you get down there. And then when you start feeling like you can't go anymore, just exhale just a little bit. And your brain will rethink itself and you'll be okay. And then if it gets really tough, find a little dot, find something under the water that you can focus on and do that. And so he went back down to do that, and then he could hear the guy counting. And like when he was like a minute and 10 seconds, he was really at like 2 minutes. The guy was just telling him, oh, you're a minute 10, man, you can do this, you can do this. And he finally, he thought he did 2 minutes and like 20 seconds and ended up doing 4 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And again, because your brain does not really know what your body can do.
Did you ever watch Facing the Giants?
Oh, I love that movie.
Do you remember
with
that?
The guy on his back?
Yes, that part.
I used to show that. I used that as part of my training for years when I would do seminars and training and build my teams.
Well, they say like
I would
one
do
more.
that clip, one more. And I mean, that's what we can do. I mean, it's to do, one more thing, just one more thing every day, or do for one, like Andy Stanley says, do for one that you wish you could do for many. So many times we don't do stuff. It's like, oh, I'm not going to help out this charity because I can't give them $1,000. Well, give them $5 if that's what you have. And so many times we limit ourselves, we miss blessings, we miss connections because whether it's pride or foolishness, I mean, I know there's been times where it's like, oh gosh, if I can't give this big amount, and it's like, then I have to check myself. Why am I giving that big amount? Yeah, I really care about the organization, but I want them to think I'm somebody.
Yeah.
And you know what? If I could just give $10 and I'm doing it because that's all I have, but I believe in what they're doing, I'm actually going to get more out of that $10. And you never know. You go and you're sitting there and the guy next to you just gave $10,000, but you're sitting there and you build a connection. And now that gentleman hears your vision and what you're doing. And it just, we limit ourselves so much because of our financial resources, because of what we think we know or don't know, or our background or our status. So many things. That's kind of what Valerie's book about Relentless. We let those things limit us instead of being genuine and being honest and stop trying to be this imposter or ignoring problems, thinking they'll go away, or that sort of thing.
Sometimes they do.
Just deal with them and be honest.
Yeah.
She shares a story, and I never heard this story before. With the I guess it's FAA or whatever, the airline industry.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And for years, the pilots, when they would make mistakes or people and stuff, they would never share that because they feared losing their job, losing their license, things like that. But when mistakes happen, there'd be, people get killed or there'd be accidents. And finally, I think it was sometime in the late 70s, the pilots union got the airlines and everybody to agree that people could self-report these things and they would not be reprimanded. Yeah, maybe they would get, hey, we need some additional training, we'll do things. But because of that, the amount of airline crashes and people dying went from like 1 in 600 and some thousand trips to 1 in so many millions. It's the safest industry there is. And then even the airlines started realizing they could share it with each other because they were looking for the good of everything. And so then they were able to invent technology or be able to do things because people weren't afraid of admitting they made a mistake or they need help. And you know what? In the industry, I need help. Like I shared with you, I know nothing about a podcast. I don't know. Does a podcast mean I have to be like, have a guest and be talking, or is that just me put my phone out here and talking? I don't know much about how to do social media. I know a lot about traditional marketing.
Yeah.
But I don't know those things. And again, because of my lack of knowledge of those things, who is really hurting is not necessarily me or my bank account, but what it's hurting is there's a lot of people out there that I could probably help and bring value to, but they don't even realize that I exist. And I've humbled myself, even by coming here today and reaching out to you, is saying, you know what? Gosh, I'm probably 30, 40 years older than you. I've done probably a lot more in life than you. I may make more money than you. I don't know, but I value what you know. And I know that you can help me with things that I don't know how to do. And I can bring value to you. You can bring value to me.
Versa.
And you know what? Who's going to benefit? Not just you and me. A whole lot of people out there are going to benefit because you and I take time to bring value to each other.
That's a really good way to look at it. That's awesome. Yeah. I remember you asked a little bit before this a question that was along those lines of
about
what really is
what
the
is a podcast? Do you have to have multiple people? What is a podcast?
And actually, the literal way of answering that is a podcast is a mix between a piece of media on iPods and broadcast. And they combine the words to make podcast.
Okay.
Now, so it's just a means of media and how you consume it. Usually audio-only form, but it can be video these days. And then YouTube, everyone likes to say, oh, I have a podcast, but actually they just have a YouTube channel because they're not actually on podcast platforms and they just put it in a podcast playlist.
Is that what they call like a vlog?
Yeah, well, a vlog is a video blog, and it's just kind of like journey in your day. It's a way to document things as you're going. So a vlog is technically actually a documentary.
Okay.
So it's just kind of classification of things. But when you add video to it, it can be a podcast and it can be a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And it can be a platform. So, but the best podcast, because you can be one-on-one, and you can call that a podcast. A lot of people do that. It just becomes monologue by that point. And it might be better as a YouTube channel at that point than just a podcast, or maybe both. But then for this, like a podcast fits the guest style a lot more. Okay. And now culture has turned the phrase or the word podcast into what we're doing, where you record conversations. So now there's an expectation of how to see clips and stuff. So to me, it's not about like, I have a podcast, because it's kind of the flashy credential now.
Right.
But then it's getting less flashy because everyone and their mom seems to be doing it.
Yeah.
You know? So why should anybody else really do a podcast? And it's like, well, you miss the point if you're doing it for that reason, because it's not there to impress.
Right.
It's there to be a platform to provide value. And then we build the system to make sure it can work for what you're actually aiming for. So if you're aiming to just get famous, just because you want to get famous and you can't really decide why, that's usually a red flag and you disqualify from us.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else. So
yeah, it's like, I've heard the term, people are sometimes more focused on how many likes they can get than actually what kind of impact they're making.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, why I reached out to you and stuff, because I'm thinking, you hear, hey, a podcast or whatever, and it's like, okay, is a podcast something that actually I can use to bring value? Is it something that will, be able to communicate things? And yeah, maybe sometimes through the podcast, there's not always an ask, and there's maybe not any monetary thing that I'm receiving. But at the same time, it's bringing value to somebody.
Yeah.
And eventually you bring enough value to enough people, everything circles back around.
Yeah.
Or is it just something that makes you feel important or feel good? I'm not interested in, something that just makes me feel good or look important. That's almost that imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
What I'm looking for is, what is the best tool for what I want to do to be able to communicate to as many people as I can, somewhat as quickly as I can.
Okay.
To be able to bring value, because there are services, there are products, there are things I could do that could make their life better and bring value to them. But how do I communicate that? And and it's like, do I do this? Do I do this? Do I do that? Or you do a combination of several things. But whatever I do, my whole focus is to be intentional and for it to achieve
what you're looking
that end goal,
Yeah.
which is how can I bring value to more people and truly connect with people, not just, hey, this guy said this, but they feel like I'm their friend. John Maxwell, again, my mentor, he opens and ends every talk. And even sometimes, hi, I'm John, and I'm your friend. Because again, he wants to connect, that he's helping you to be better. And, the nice thing about a friend is you can tell a friend anything. You can pull it back,
hopefully
be open.
A real friend.
And a real friend, and be genuine with them. And the only way you can get better is to be genuine. I mean, it's like going to the doctor and you don't be honest with the doctor. What good does that do for you?
I didn't break my arm.
You go to an attorney and you're trying to get something done, but you won't be honest with them. Nobody can really, truly make a difference in your life. Even our Savior, Lord Jesus Christ. He says, confess your sins, and I'm going to forgive you, but to confess those sins and to move on and to learn, and I can make you better. But if we're not honest, I mean, we got a God that knows everything, but we want to try to pretend and be dishonest with God. It makes no sense. Our marriages, our kids. I mean, we don't want to admit to our kids, say we're sorry or something, or like, oh yeah, I really messed up. But again, when we can start being honest, then we can actually get help.
Right.
And we can actually get better, and we can actually improve. And you know what? Our journey and our mistakes are going to make life easier for someone else. Somebody one time at church was asking me a question about some type of thing or something like that. And I said, well, actually what I could do is I could write a book on all the things not to do. And if you'll read that and not make all those mistakes, then you'll be very successful. Because there's a lot of there's a lot of things I've messed up and failed on. And so it's
I failed at this, so you don't have to.
And so to me, I thought I could write a whole series.
Yeah.
How not not to be a good parent, how not to be a good spouse, how not to be a good financial investor, how to not be a good boss. And you know what? Read those books and just don't do any of those things, and you'll be great. Well, they're just trying to tell them all the things they need to do, because more people, we're taught little kids, no. Let me teach them what not to do.
Yeah.
And then just do what those other things, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Well, that's a great podcast idea there. Yeah. So, all right. So we have to move on here. Yeah. And one final question then is, what are you most excited for building next? We got to give it about a minute, and then I'll ask you one final thing.
That's something I'm actually trying to determine right now, is to kind of prioritize what I want to build next.
Okay.
The thing I'm looking on, I have a passion, and I've already worked with several organizations, and it's part of one of my mentors, Jeff Henderson. It's called FOR. But it's about, again, being truly, genuinely being four parts: for your team, for yourself, for your community, and for your customers. And my really passion is being for your team and for yourself. And I'm actually the governor of the Western Missouri District Optimist organization here in Missouri, and my theme for this year is 4, and I've been trying to kind of change some of the things we do in processes to make our membership feel like we're for them, instead of them feeling like they're for us. And
or it's like for you, it's not from you.
People sit in congregations, and they feel like it's not about the church or whatever. It's really for them. It's like they're for the church, or they're working for a company, and they feel like the company's not really existing for them, but they're existing for the company. And so it's trying to change that connection, because you know what? Actually, one of my thoughts, and kind of slowly, it just kind of yesterday it hit me, is I'm trying to put together kind of a program, maybe even a book, is like, move from delegating to empowering. When you delegate, you create a bunch of followers. When you empower, you create leaders. And in delegating, okay, Jared, go over here and set these tables up exactly this way. Here it is. You got to set them up exactly this way. If you don't, you failed. Empowerment is like, hey, we need these tables set up because we need it to impact people. We need it to do this. Here's a little sketch, but you take this and you make something out of this. And whether they do it the way you would have done it or not, man, you build them up and you encourage them, and then you have the ability to maybe train them up to do it a little bit different. But we're so focused on, and we're taught that, delegate. And all we're doing is creating followers and people that can do tasks. What we need to do is replace ourselves. And the only way you can replace yourself is to create leaders.
Yes. That's awesome. And that's a great ending quote for you. I have a question, and that's, how could people follow you? If they want to learn more about you, about your business, what do you suggest their first action to be?
Well, I would say go to my website, 252leadership.com. There's some videos there. Tell us about what I do, who I am. There's a place they can put information on there to connect and reach out to them. Also, reach out to me on my cell phone, 816-352-1156. I mean, text me, call me, and you generally want to connect. I mean, I get a lot of these texts and emails from people that want me to buy something from them. But hey, I'm one of these people. I will respond. make that connection. And if I can be of value, we'll be of value. If I can't be of value to you, you know what? I know a lot of people that could be of value to you. And so that's one way or another, I'm going to be of value to you. Yeah.
That's awesome. So it's win-win.
Yep.
Okay. So, and then final question, you said you had videos and you have a lot of good teachings. Do you have courses?
I do have courses. I don't have any that what I try to do is customize the courses.
Okay.
I have
for
some
individual or for what?
Individuals, for companies, for organizations.
Okay.
And
so you build internal courses.
Correct. We have courses that are plug and play, but I very seldom 100% use the plug and play. That's the problem with so many, if you want to say coaches or trainers, they have this course and they try to push it on to everyone. What I try to do is find out what people need, where they want to go, what is the issues that need to be addressed, the strength. And then I have such an access with being an executive director with John Maxwell Leadership and the different things that then I can customize. What I like to say is I don't have anything genuine, but I'm an expert on stealing the best from the best and how to put all that together.
Yeah.
It's kind of like like a cooking shows.
Yeah.
I take this from this cook and this from this chef and this chef and then put it together. That's what I do with leadership, whether it's John Gordon, John Maxwell.
That's what we all do technically
with
everything, whether you do it intentionally or not, because we're all actually DJs.
Yeah.
Like we're all remixing things that have already existing.
Right. But you do it in a way that meets that person's needs, and then it brings value to them.
So you're
Otherwise, you're selling them a product. You're not creating value.
It's push sales, the old school
Correct.
version, which is like the car salesman and like trying to convince people rather than allow their convictions to want to buy.
Right.
Yeah. Sales is supposed to be love these days, not pushy.
Well, again, it goes back to that connection and solving a problem and being of value.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit different. It's a little bit slower process maybe.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit time consuming on my end. And people say, why do you do it that way? You can scale it. You can make more money. You could do stuff. They did the same with my Medicare business. But, we spent hours and hours with people to connect with them and help them understand what everything was about. And so then when it come time to a product, we could customize that for their need. It works the same in the leadership area. And I know you probably do the same thing. And I mean, there's some people, it's like, you know what? We're not going to be able to solve your problem. That's not our route. But man, here's some other people that's their niche.
Yep.
And if you make enough connections and you bring enough value to other people, you're going to build this large, if you want to say, organization of associates that you may not be making a dime, but you're able to use those connections to bring value to others. Yeah.
I always want to leave people and businesses better than I found them, even if it's just one little conversation. So, all right. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much. Brian, thank you for being on here. Everyone else, thank you for listening. And I will see you on the next one. And go give him a follow. Go support him. If you're in the Raymore area, definitely. Are you in another area?
Yeah, I have clients I work with in Oregon and Texas, all over.
Will you travel too?
I will travel.
All right.
I've been, I've done seminars in Oklahoma, other places, but we also can do a lot of virtual stuff too.
That's incredible. So if you would love to utilize his services in that way, then please do. Brian, it's been awesome.
Well, thank you.
I want to encourage all of you guys listening to keep on keeping on.